This show is sponsored by PaidToPlayToday.com. Start living life to the fullest. Get a free basic membership at PaidToPlayToday.com.
Coming at you live from Salt Lake City, Utah, Pay-to-Play TV, episode 15 sales. And now your host, who's so macho that they hire Nacho, Garrett J. White.
Dude, how am I supposed to even follow that? Are you kidding me? Dude, you just showed up with a Nacho Libre mask on. Oh my heavens. Okay, seriously, so here's the deal. If you haven't ever learned one thing from this show here at Pay to Play TV, your entire experience with us, we are absolutely certain that your mind has been tarnished for the rest of your life. That was AKA Adam the Buddha, the merry monk, pretending like he was Nacho Libre. I love it. Okay, good. So let's jump into another episode here at Pay to Play TV. And here's the skill set that we're going to give you today. At times it requires you to take risk in order to get paid to play. It requires you to put yourself on the line. And sometimes that requires you to rip your shirt off and put a blue mask on and show up like Adam did. If you'd like to be a guest on our show and you'd like to be intro for our show and be trained by Adam Keene on how to wear the mask and show up properly here on our show, and you're a guy because we can't do the whole topless girl thing. If you would like to do that, put a message down below and or email us at info@paytoplaytoday.com, and we would love to have you on this show in that aspect. We're going to cover 3 aspects of our show today, 3 powerful principles just like we did last week, 3 things that you get to know about your business, but we're going to set the stage based on a story, and I'm going to share with you what the principles are first, share the story, and then we're going to talk about how they're applicable to your business. Let's jump right into it. Principles we're going to cover today is the distinction and difference in business between getting info versus giving information. The second we're going to talk about is the difference between being product focused and people focused. I know last week we talked about marketing center versus business or product centered in your business. This is going to be a little bit different. We're going to add to the conversation this week. The third thing we're going to cover is the idea of emotional versus logical drivers. So let's come back into our first principle, and if I can get this over. And I'll share some distinctions. So here's the deal, and let's use an example in email. When someone emails you a marketing message and you did not, as Seth Godin calls it, enter into an opt-in relationship with this person, meaning they just blasted you with an email. They call this in the internet marketing world and in the infomarketer world, they call that what? Kind of rhymes with ham, and it doesn't start with a damn. It's actually called spam. They call it spamming, okay? Now, nobody likes to be spammed. It's why everybody puts these little signals up everywhere. Not spamming, we protect your information, blah, 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 which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work. But here's the deal. When somebody blasts you a marketing message, even if they're a friend of yours, and they send you an unsolicited email, how does it make you feel? Now, some of you may just go delete, 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 delete. For me, I'm like, dude, seriously? And you're at the bottom of the screen, you're trying to find a place where you can actually opt out. And you're like, dude, I want to opt out, and there's no way to opt out. And the emails keep coming and coming and coming. You report them as spam. It's this big issue. There's a big distinction between offering your product and service to somebody who is giving their information versus getting their information. Here's the steps. Step 1, when it comes to getting your target market into place to purchase your product, service, and experience, is to get them to give you their information. It's getting information in the beginning. In the beginning, that's why you're seeing opt-ins open up everywhere. Permission-based marketing is all that really exists anymore. You've got to give people an opportunity to ask to receive it, because I can receive that same email, even from a friend of mine who says, listen, buy my product, service, or experience, but I'm knowing myself that at one point I was required to be at choice as an agent to do what? I had to put my name in, I had to put my email in, and I had to click yes, send me information. And the minute I did that, I gave them permission to send me marketing pieces to sell me on a product, service, or experience. You get this? And it doesn't matter. They could do any of their affiliates. They could send it to me. They could be one of their friends. But now that I've opted into their database or into their organization, quote, their tribe, they have an opportunity to market me. And I don't get pissed off about it. Now, I may be in somewhere people blast me like every single day, twice a day for 3 weeks. And I'm like, okay, it's annoying. Click and I'm out. But the reality is in that space, it's different when I'm seeking in my business and marketing to get information from someone in order to give them information than to flip that, which is I'm going to give you, and I'm not going to ever get your permission. Do you see the distinction and the difference? So the permission then is either getting their permission in the beginning and then giving them information, or trying to give them information without ever getting their information or their permission. The game then is step one when it comes to your marketing and sales funnels is to figure out how in the world you're going to get people to opt into playing with you. Ultimately, to be part of your tribe, whether that's outer circle, inner circle, so that you can be in a space or place to offer them information, to offer your products, offer your services, offer your experiences. This isn't revolutionary, right? This is basic, but we've gotten a lot of people in our experience in our current tribe with Paid to Play and other organizations. They're really struggling with this concept, particularly people who are unfamiliar with the marketing conversation at all. How would this look offline? It would be somebody, you're requesting someone's card to give them more information. And with their card, you're willing to mail them something, email them something, and or phone call them. If I'm just randomly cold calling somebody, it's very different than if somebody's giving me their card, right? At the time I'm recording this here in studio, Dan Clark is sitting here in studio also. Dan gave me his phone number, right? Now that means I'm going to spam him like crazy with text messages, his personal cell phone. If you know who Dan Clark is, he's like only like the who's who of the biggest world of speaking, right? Anyways, he's here in studio to record right after me, and I'm sitting there and he gave me permission. Neil's like recording right now. When I'm partners, he saw it happen. Now, does this mean I'm going to put him on my email list? No, but it did open up the conversation for me to call him. If I tried to call Dan Clark before and said, hey, this is Garrett J. White, maybe we'd have had a conversation. But in this space now, because he has been given, he gave his information to me. Woo! In that space, then, it creates a different dynamics. Are you seeing this? Okay, cool. So let's move to the second point then. Second point we're going to build on, geez, struggling with the paper here, is product focus versus people focus. It's very easy, particularly when you're passionate about your product, to be in a space and place in which all you talk about is the product. We talked a little bit about this last week. So in your conversation, when you're coming to deal with people, understand that what you're dealing is with people. Even if you're in the game like a real estate. I love people in real estate. Well, you know, real estate is real estate is real estate. It's brick and mortar. It's dirt and soil. No, it's not. At the end of the day, has a house ever paid you? No. Who writes checks to you? People. Does a bank actually pay you? No. A person must execute the transaction. You say, well, technology does it for me. Guys, there's people in the equation. When there's people, influence is possible. And you got to understand that people themselves will react and move based on different reasons, and not typically for the reasons that you think they will. A people-focused production model has us in a space and place in which we know we're clear about the type of problem that we're solving. We're clear about it. We know the problem that we're solving in their pain. We know who the people are, meaning our specific target markets. I see my target markets and with what I do with Pay to Play in two particular areas. 20 to 35-year-old, what I call wounded warriors, or warrior, typically masculine energy, not always men, but a specific type of energy in that space. And then also women between the ages of 40 and 55. Two different demographics. Now, does that mean that we in the Pay to Play models play with women in that and in the younger demographic and or with men in the older? No, not necessarily. But the predominant focus in the way we do our marketing is the problem and the pain that these people are facing in these two areas. The pain itself is clear for us. The problem is pretty clear for us too. The people that we want to serve is clear also. Once we do that, we can then create marketing messages and sales conversation, and in our one-on-one interaction, I can speak to their problems. And I can speak to their pain, understanding that I have a passion for solving their problems, a passion for assisting them and where they're at, and I can see them as human beings. It brings a human element to the conversation of marketing and sales instead of just databases and lists, as well as just face-to-face interaction, churn and burn, numbers. The product focus set model, though, puts me in a game in which all I see people as is commission. I see them as dollar. I watch people do this with their databases. I watch speakers do this from stage. I watch individuals do this in one-on-one conversations and selling. I watch them do it on Salesforce, car lots, etc. As we start to forget that we're actually dealing with people. And so we force our products and we push into a game in which our product focus is dollar at the cost of purpose, dollar at the cost of actual people. So the second game then within this entire game of not only getting their permission, but is also to see them as human beings. Now, it'd be pretty easy for me in the business sense to look at the relationship with Dan Clark as this huge opportunity for me to explode my business, right? Who he knows all these people and blah, 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 blah. Ultimately, what did we connect on? Honestly, he and I connected on what? We wear the same band. We wear the same band, this green band that you see on our wrists. It was supported by a guy named Paul Diamond who launched a company called Hero Bands. And in that entire space, Paul is both a student of mine and a student of Dan Clark's. Went to two different things right when he came back from Afghanistan a year ago. And he and I share a common passion, and that is the military men and women of our country and being able to support them when they get back. Now, in that space, though, he and I, do we see the dollars? Not initially. What we see is the people. And in seeing the people, it changes the kind of marketing that you use. It changes the kind of sales techniques you use. It also shifts the conversation and allows you to move into a place of persuasion and influence instead of the game of manipulative sales. Got it? Let's move to principle 3 then. Emotional drivers versus logical drivers. Here's the thing that's crazy. You ever seen anybody do something that's like completely illogical with money? Like, have you ever done that? Yes? No? Maybe not? I can remember one day my wife, she was super excited. She called me up at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. She said, I found the hot tub of my dreams. It was a Bullfrog hot tub at Draper, Utah, the Bullfrog outlets, or Bullfrog manufacturing plant. It was like the most incredible hot tub she'd ever seen in her entire life. We walk down, we look at the hot tub, and the entire time we are at this hot tub, the salesperson was an absolute Jedi. Jedi. None of the conversation in the beginning was what? Logical. All of the conversation in the beginning was what? Emotional. So she's sitting there and she said, I want you guys to imagine, I mean, it's like 10:30 at night, kids are in bed, you know, you decide you want to be a little naughty. You take the clothes off, you go down, it's just you two in the hot tub, the colored lights are going, the jets are going, you put in some of the aromatherapy stuff into the water, it's just romantic and it's just you two and you're sipping on a little wine. And my wife's sitting there the whole time and she's like, yeah, I can see that. And of course, I mean, in the first sentence of where she was going, did she have me? I mean, it was kind of like the whole Jerry Maguire thing. You had me at hello. I mean, I was like already in, I was like, dude, I don't care what comes after this because you had me at the whole naked conversation with my wife in a hot tub. I'm getting a hot tub, period. I'm going to come hell or high water, we're getting a hot tub. Now, here was a funny thing. As we went through, she continued the emotional drive. She talked about our kids being able to play in it. She talked about me. She said, now, it sounds like you're an Ironman triathlete. And I said, yeah. And she said, like, did you ever get, like, really sore muscles, like, coming back from a long, bike ride and like 5 hours, something like, yeah. And she's like, after you get done running and your muscles are aching and, and I don't know if your wife gives you massages or not. And I was like, no, she actually sucks at that. She said, well, I want you to come over here in this one aspect of the hot tub. There's what we call the rotor girder Tahitian massage piece, and it does like this, and it goes, and she comes up on my back and she touches my back like right after she talked about me and my wife naked in the hot tub. So like, dude, she's like closing the deal like crazy on me. But the whole thing is for literally an hour, she sold us on the concept of buying this Bullfrog hot tub. And not one time does she talk about the rotogirder specs of the hot tub, how it has like all the capacities to blah, 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 and replaceable blah, blah, blahs, and all the power wattage and blah, 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 and how it's got a guarantee of blah, 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 and yada, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I'm talking about? I love it when salespeople come out of the gate and they're talking to you about something that you have no idea about, and their whole conversation is blah, blah, blah. And you're like, dude, seriously, am I Charlie Brown and you're my parents? Wah, 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 wah. Like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Will you please just tell me how this is going to benefit my life? This gal could not have done it better. Needless to say, for 5 minutes, as she pulled out the contract in front of us, I finally, after an hour, decided to ask how much it was going to cost after I already said, we'll take it. After I already said, we'll take it. She came in and sat down and showed us the paperwork. It was a $15,000 hot tub. Now, at the time, money flowed like cheap wine, and I had no respect and value for money, and so I was making way too much money at the time in banking. I just didn't really care. So we pulled out the black Amex and bought the hot tub. Here's the thing. It's funny, though. As people would come into a space with me later and ask how much I spent on the hot tub, like 2 months later, etc., I would tell them, I would find myself not going to the emotion to justify why I bought it. I went to what? The logic. And I said, well, you figure a regular massage is $75. I've got the Tahitian noni, but it wasn't Tahitian noni, Tahitian something. It's not even Tahitian. It was something, I can't remember the name of it. Massage thing, besides the fact that, happiness in my marriage, and when I'm happier in my marriage, I went to all the logicals. By the way, she was a magic at that too, because the salesperson took me through 5 specific logical connections to the emotional decision I'd already made and showed me how logically it made sense, and then allowed me to sell myself on the emotion or the benefits of having the product. Okay, y'all know what I'm talking about? Are you seeing this? There's a big difference in it. And when we get this confused, what ends up happening is that our models, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to sales, become a big drama, they become a big problem, they become very difficult to deal with and handle. So we're going to do a little review. You ready? Because this show's coming to a close. We're going to talk about 3 specific points again. We're going to review them step by step by step, and I'm going to give you some actions here, and then we'll put some cool links down at the bottom for you to get more information about steps and processes you could take to get access to deeper information about this. But you know what? I just realized that I have a gift. We haven't been using the guest gong or the guru gong here recently, but what I do have is the power snap. The power snap comes from these 2 fingers. The power snap is a gift that I picked up along the way. Adam may be able to rip his shirt off and show up with his Nacho Libre hat, but I'll tell you what, I've got the power snap. I've learned it. You know, I can't do it left, but my right hand is the power snap. I want you to watch this. Watch my fingers closely. Watch them closely. I'm not kidding you. You're about to watch pure magic happen. Chris Angel is going to want me on his show down in Las Vegas, and you're going to believe when you watch this. Are you ready? Watch my fingers, because this is going to happen fast. It's going to happen fast. It's going to happen fast. It's going to happen fast. Are you ready? Here it comes. Here it comes. Watch it. Ha! You thought I could only do it with guests? I can do it with my flip chart too. Huh? Do you see that? The fingers, baby. It was all in the fingers. So let's hit our review really quickly here in this show. First off, there's a distinction between getting information versus giving information. Seek to receive from them permission, and then you will be open to offering and giving them all of the value you can possibly give them. Second point that we talked about in today's show was the difference between being product-focused versus people-focused. Understanding that when we go to people, we deal with specific problems and pain, and we can speak their language. And when you speak their language, they're more receptive to hearing about your product as a solution to their problem. But when we go the other way around, we begin to get into a game of force, a game of manipulation, not a game of persuasion, and not a game of influence. Let's move to the point 3 we made today. Point 3 was emotional drivers versus logical drivers. The reality is, for you to spend $15,000 on a hot tub is going to require you to see you and your spouse naked in that hot tub long before you see the contract. The game today here has been brought to you by PaidToPlayToday.com. If you want to be in an hour conversation, interactive, experiential webinar with me discussing these same principles we do in our Monday weekly Wake Up webinar series and our free Paid to Play basic membership, go to PaidToPlayToday.com. Log in and register, because within days of this episode being shown and aired, we will be having that webinar, during which time I'll expand these concepts an hour and open up for your question and answers to be part of us in our Paid to Play Today basic membership. So, my name is Garrett J. White. I am the Authentic Entrepreneur, inviting you to come play with me in the weekly Wake Up webinar series and to come be part of our tribe at PaidToPlayTribe.com and or PaidToPlayToday.com. We've had some huge principles today. Thanks to Adam, we brought in some serious comedy and some nudity, and might have to actually call this an explicit show now that Adam's shown his nipples on Paid to Play TV. My name is Garrett J. White. I am the Authentic Entrepreneur, reminding you to be real, to be raw, to be relevant, and most importantly, my friend, to be authentic.